Now to a crime that shocked North Texas. So many of us remember it like it was yesterday. April 2016, a mother murdered early one morning while she was simply preparing for a fitness class at a church in Midlothian. The killer, dressed in tactical gear, caught on camera.
This April marked 10 years since Missy Bevers was senselessly killed. There was lots of media coverage all across Texas. Even some national publications reported on it. But one lucky news outlet actually got to sit down with the Bevers family.
Tonight, though, it's not about the investigation. Tonight is about her family, a husband and 3 daughters who recently invited us into their home to talk about their loss, about their pain, the public scrutiny that followed, and the love, they say, that has helped them survive it all.
CBS News Texas talked with Brandon and his daughters, giving the public the first real window into the family in years. While Brandon has done a few podcasts and remains active online, the girls have remained pretty private. I had some communication with both Brandon and his eldest daughter, Hannah, but they declined to speak with me for this podcast. In the 10-minute TV news package, the 3 sisters gather around the kitchen island and share their feelings and memories of their mother. You can tell it's not something they do often.
We don't usually, sit here and talk about all the sad things,
Yeah, but there are days where I'm just overwhelmed maybe. Yeah. And that's when I really start missing Mom, is when I've had a hard day. And so I'll look at her Facebook.
I do all the time.
Because she was chronically on Facebook while we were growing up.
The interview was so moving. You can watch it on YouTube, but make sure to have your tissues nearby. Some of the most emotional moments came from Hannah, Missy's oldest daughter.
I went to Target and I saw one of my friends and her mom, and it was such a nice day outside. And I got in the car and I started crying because I was like, oh my God, I forgot that people do that. People hang out with their moms and go shopping and stuff like that.
Hannah was just 16 when her mom was taken from her. Her sisters said they couldn't have made it through that difficult time without her.
Hannah, whenever my mom passed, at the beginning, I was in 2nd grade, so she dropped everything. She took me to school. She picked me up from school.
I got you dressed in the morning.
She got me dressed in the morning. In some way they had to be kind of like a mother to me, or I definitely wouldn't be where I am today without, their guidance.
This really hit me. Hannah and I are around the same age. I can't imagine being in her position, and as a teenager no less. Because the family is usually so private and so averse to speaking with the press, it was heartbreaking, but also illuminating to hear firsthand about their experience since losing Missy. Renee from the True Crime Broads was shocked they did the interview at all, given their history with the media.
It was shocking because they don't normally do interviews. Brandon has actually said he doesn't want anything to do with sensationalism.
As we've heard throughout the series, Brandon has been vocal about his skepticism of the press or anyone else who speaks openly online about Missy's case.
Regardless of anything that's happened in the past, that just breaks your heart for them.
Brandon is interviewed separately from the girls, and he doesn't just go through the motions. He's reflective and perhaps the most vulnerable we've ever seen him. He speaks not only about losing Missy, but also about the accusations that he had something to do with it.
I've always tried to do the right thing in life, and I've always walked a straight line, and I've always taken pride in who I am. And then all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where people think you have something to do with it. That takes you to a dark place as an individual.
Crystal, Renee's co-host on the True Crime Broads, said she heard from lots of listeners after the interview dropped.
I had people message me and say, I thought Brandon was in on this until I saw this interview.
This vulnerability and raw emotion was changing the perception people had had of him for a decade.
My default emotion in all of this is anger. It's anger. I'm so mad. I'm so angry. And I don't know how I've been able to kind of keep myself together, but I'm so angry. The anger has overpowered the sadness.
Perhaps the tough, aggressive facade Brandon had been putting on for years was finally falling. What came off as indifference or an attempt at a diversion wasn't indicative of guilt, but a profound pain. And the Bevers weren't the only ones to recognize the anniversary of Missy's death.
I'm still processing the fact it's a decade, but what is the latest on the Missy Bevers investigation?
Right, so you might have seen Midlothian Police came out earlier this week with an update.
From Free Range Productions, this is The Unforgotten: Who Killed Missy Bevers? I'm Zoe Colkin. This is episode 6, A Dark Place. On the 10-year anniversary, the Midlothian Police Department released a statement on the status of the investigation. We'll get into the details of their statement in a minute, but Crystal says it was a whole lot of nothing.
You know, at first I was just a little disappointed because it sounded like a rehashing of just a big nothing, where they don't really share anything. And I just thought, well, nothing new here to see.
Renee didn't think it was all bad.
When I saw it, I was glad because, again, people look forward to that somewhat of a confirmation of the police that are working on the case. They are, doing things to move forward, which for the most part we know they are, but it helps to be reminded, hey, we're working on it. We're still looking for tips.
The statement was actually sent to me a few days in advance, in lieu of answering any of the specific questions I had sent over while I was reporting this story. I won't read the whole statement. It's on the Midlothian Police Department socials if you want to read for yourself. But the main headline is, Missy's case is not a cold case. I told Crystal and Renee about my communication with the police and their refusal to answer any of my questions. Throughout the conversations I've had with the true crime broads, they have both been very cautious about not harming the investigation. They don't want to say or do anything that could ruin the police's strategies. They understood why the police didn't want to talk to me. They don't want to compromise anything. Renee asked what kinds of questions I had sent to them. I asked, what their opinion on the internet sleuths are, if they feel they've compromised the investigation. I asked what the protocol is when tips come in, how do you decide what to pursue and what not to pursue. I asked if they could provide an update on the Nissan Altima, if there was a list of people.
Nothing that they can answer.
There's 10 questions here. I asked how much time is devoted to the Missy Bevers case on a weekly basis. Some of these questions they could have answered.
Something specific about injuries or something I can understand. But the questions that you asked, there was full capability of them answering some of those for sure. So, yeah, I'm not surprised though.
Neither of the broads were shocked at the MPD's lack of cooperation, but they found it difficult to make excuses for this level of shrug-off. Questions about their process or the Altima, which is the car that they had put many calls out for tips. These are questions they should have been able to answer, or at least give me something. Understanding turned into frustration.
Wow.
Yeah, not shocking.
No. Not at all. You would think that for a case that is 10 years old and literally no closer to being solved than it was on day one, that they would want to give something to generate some more tips, some more interest, someone to come forward. Whatever. I don't claim to know how to do their job, obviously, because I've never done it. But I'm just saying, you see it in other cases and you see them say, okay, we're going to release XYZ, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then it kind of regenerates it gets more, you know what I mean? It's just frustrating.
The statement also mentions that most information circulating online is incorrect. For instance, there was a rumor that the MPD had refused the help of any federal or state agencies. They say this is completely false, writing, quote, "We are partnered with the Texas Department of Public Safety / Texas Rangers, the Ellis County District Attorney's Office, and appropriate federal agencies. We value and appreciate their support." This is something Brandon had mentioned to me on our brief phone call, that the Texas Rangers had taken over the case and they were starting completely from scratch, bringing people back in for further questioning, reevaluating evidence. But to me, the most interesting revelation from the statement came in the last bullet point. Quote, "Another incorrect claim is that we have ruled out certain individuals as suspects. While some persons of interest receive more attention than others, no individual has been completely excluded as a suspect. This will remain true until the case is closed."
I heard from some people that asked my opinion. They said, sounds to me like they're talking about maybe Brandon's not off the table, and they want to make that clear because they didn't say, like they've said in the past, many years ago, they made some statement like, none of the family, no one close to Missy is a suspect. But now they're stating everybody is fair game. And I just thought that was significant.
Not only have they said in the past that they aren't looking to the family, they've also cleared people. For example, Bobby Wayne Henry, the disgraced police officer. Crystal found this interesting, that they seem to be going back on their word. She also thinks this part of the statement could be pointed at Brandon specifically.
That's a pretty intense statement, knowing full well that the public thinks that Brandon and his dad did it. I mean, Renee and I, that's not us, but I'm just saying, like, the general public that's not following it that closely, they just, at the beginning, saw some things they didn't like about Brandon and Randy, and it took off, you know?
Now remember, Brandon has never been publicly named a suspect in his wife's murder. There's no evidence we know of tying him to the crime. But the lack of concrete information from this statement lets people's imaginations run wild. The attention has been back on Brandon since the interview he did with CBS Texas. While his emotion did make some people see him in a new light, Crystal says that to other people, it looked fake. And the MPD saying that no one is off the table just added fuel to that fire.
A journalist, I won't mention her name, said, you know, he usually just does press like at the beginning when he thinks the police are looking at him. And now he didn't do press for a long time. So maybe he's doing this press because he thinks the police are looking at him again.
Crystal made it clear to me that that is not her personal thought, but she understands that line of thinking.
I want to be as generous as I possibly can, because if he's an innocent guy who lost his wife and had to raise his daughters on his own, then that's horrific, you know? But I also completely understand the speculation that he might have been involved because he has behaviorally been extremely odd.
I've known for a while that my gut health was a little off, just burping all the time, feeling bloated. I even went to a gastroenterologist and got some meds that didn't do anything. That's why I started taking 1 capsule per day of Physician's Choice 60 billion probiotic. I love that it's not just one strain, it's 10 different strains, all in one simple daily capsule that survives stomach acid and actually gets where it needs to go. And I've been taking it for about a month, and I can really tell a difference. Physician's Choice was developed with a team of doctors, and it contains clinically studied probiotic strains. And I love that it's made in the USA with a no questions asked 60-day money-back guarantee. Go to Amazon or physicianschoice.com and use code PCPodcast10 for 10% off your entire order. PCPodcast10 for 10% off. Best results after a month of use. So invest in your gut. Subscribe and save up to 40% off your order. Also find Physician's Choice at all your favorite retailers.
In the years since Crystal and Renee started their podcast, they have hosted many events for the community of people who care about Missy's case.
Every year we do something at the unfortunate anniversary of Missy's death. Obviously, the goal is to keep people talking about the case and, you know, keep it in the public's eye.
For this milestone anniversary, they wanted to do something big to really draw attention to Missy in the years that have gone by without any justice. They decided on a live podcast.
Welcome to True Crime Brides. This is Crystal
and Renee.
And we're so excited to be here at our first live podcast. We're here in Midlothian, Texas, and we are right across the street from City Hall. We're in Heritage Park, and this is so much fun. We have so many beautiful people that came out to see us.
We did it at the Heritage Park, which is where we have a brick with her name on it.
They said they were pretty happy with the crowd that showed up to support the show and honor Missy. They even had some notable figures make the trip to attend.
Bill Deere's right-hand man drove in from Carrollton. Skip Hollandsworth, legendary journalist, he drove down from where he lives out in the Lakewood area.
Famous detectives and journalists, working moms, sleuths that live hours away from Midlothian. So many people took time out of their busy lives to show up for the 10-year anniversary of Missy's murder. But two groups of people's absence hung over the event. One, the Bevers family. Not shocking, considering their track record of staying away from these types of things. And two, the Midlothian Police Department.
Nobody from law enforcement came.
They used to come when we would have at the park. They would always
To be like a representative there, yeah.
So I don't know what the difference is of it being at the other place. Oh, wow. But they didn't send anybody else this time.
Crystal and Renee, as they've said in previous episodes, don't really have much of a relationship with the police. They're not sure why they aren't more supportive of the work they do to try and solve Missy's case.
They're so vague with about everything, it's hard to tell. You can tell they don't want to be pinned down. They don't want to discuss anything. They release these quick statements and then they're gone. So hard to read the tea leaves with them. We've been doing it for 10 years and it's just kind of frustrating.
Now, they don't claim to know how to do the job of the police. After all, Crystal and Renee are not trained detectives. They don't have the experience, the resources, the institutional knowledge. But Crystal says the one thing they may have more of than the MPD is passion.
These police officers, it's their day job. Not everyone's as passionate about Missy's case as we are. And I think the three of us on this phone are potentially more passionate about the case than some of the guys that are actually on the investigation team. And that's not meant as an insult.
What Crystal means is it's different when you're choosing to dedicate your time to something versus just clocking in. I think we can all relate to that. I love my job, but the mere fact that it's my job means that sometimes I don't want to do it.
It's your day job. I actually met a cop one time and she was saying, hey, I don't really like to talk about murders at night. It's my day job and I want to get away from that stuff. Whereas people like us that follow true crime, we're thinking they probably just want to talk about it all the time and they don't necessarily. They're not invested in the same way we are.
Unfortunately for Missy and all victims of violent crimes, not every case is treated equal. Sure, you hear stories of rock star detectives that devote their life to finding the killer. They throw their personal life out the window, not resting until the case is solved. But this is not the majority. Most average officers are probably just doing what they need to do to keep their jobs, feed their families, which I can understand. But for a case like this to be solved, it requires more than just average.
This summer, I've been reaching for my 100% European linen shirt from Quince. I love that it's so breathable and it's effortless. I can wear it out to dinner, for a walk around the neighborhood, going to a bookstore, whatever. Quince makes elevated essentials using premium materials like my European linen, organic cotton, and washable silk, all without the traditional retail markup. Everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. They work directly with ethical factories and cut out the middleman, so you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup. And it's not just apparel. Quince also offers elevated essentials for your home, from bedding and bath to kitchen essentials and furniture. Make your summer wardrobe feel easier. Go to quince.com/unforgotten for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/unforgotten for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/unforgotten.
It's hard to believe that after 10 years, we are still no closer to knowing who was waiting for Missy in that church. Crystal said that when this first happened in 2016, she thought it would be solved in no time.
This is, somebody who was on camera for 30 minutes. Granted, they were covered from head to toe, But I still thought that through movement and, measurements and footprints, I thought we could narrow it down and find out where the outfit came from. I was thinking they would be able to trace this person somehow, or maybe someone saw a vehicle that was out there. I just kept thinking this is going to get solved right away. And Renee and I both thought it would be solved pretty quickly. And boy, were we wrong.
While not a day goes by that Crystal and Renee don't think about Missy, her case has disappeared from the memory of many. Even for those in the Dallas area, the mention of Missy feels more like a book they forgot the ending to, or a movie they never finished.
You hear from a lot of people, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's not solved. I thought that was solved already. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. I can't believe they haven't caught somebody.
This is part of the reason the Broads started the podcast in the first place, so people couldn't forget what happened to Missy. Remind them that, no, this case hasn't been solved. Inspire people to ask questions, look for clues, bring Missy's name up in conversations with their friends and families.
So it just gives interest in different people throughout the community, and then keeps people talking, because then they call somebody and go, did you know that case that happened in Midlothian? It didn't get solved. So I feel like it just kind of renews public interest, and hopefully it has people talking enough that tips continue to come in, because it's not just people talking about it. It's obviously pushing towards getting to the person or persons that have information that will come forward with the information police need to make an arrest.
In addition to their anniversary events, Renee hosts more regular, intimate meetings for those in the True Crime Broads Facebook group that are serious about finding Missy's killer.
The first one was in a restaurant, and there were so many people there that the table was like 5 tables long. It was a lot of people. There was like 25 people there. There was 2 people from Abilene there, which was crazy.
She was skeptical of these meetups at the beginning, but decided it was important. You never know what could make a difference.
I had thought about it, and I thought, oh, that's probably stupid. And then they invited me to one, and I thought, well, maybe it's not so stupid.
She told me that really it's just a big brainstorming session.
We basically just go in there and talk about anything that we heard recently, maybe things that people said in the group. We kind of just discuss ideas and thoughts about, different persons of interest.
I asked if they ever bring any of their findings to the police.
If it's something that we just, think like our opinion, then no, we don't take it further, because we don't think our opinion is going to make a difference, But if it's something with actual information, we have shared it with the police.
But even if nothing substantial comes from it, it's a place where people who care about Missy can gather in community, a shred of light in this utter tragedy. It's a way for them to step away from behind the keyboard and showcase their true care for Missy, to prove the people who think they're just online trolls wrong.
Renee and I really care about Missy's case, and I hope that's obvious through all the work we've done. And every now and then we get a snide comment about, I don't know, I think we have our theories where this is coming from, but, just about like, oh, why are you making money on a murder? And we're not making any money at all.
Though they have a dedicated fan base, the True Crime Broads are no Joe Rogan. But for Crystal and Renee, fame and money was never the goal.
We don't have the reach that a lot of podcasts do have. And that's okay, because we got into this to try to activate Missy's case and get people interested in it. And we feel like we've done that.
We recently received a message from someone in our messenger. She was just basically asking why we were doing this for money and why weren't we forwarding this money to the girls. So I asked Crystal to shoot me a screenshot of our last deposit of $2.51
from Spotify.
And I was like, would you like me to forward this to them? Because I would be happy to. I'm sure Crystal would be delighted to. I don't really know what somebody's going to do with $2.51. I think you buy soda with it. But nevertheless, she's right. We don't make any money off of this thing. We spend money out of our pocket.
I asked Crystal and Renee where they think this negativity stems from. They were unanimous in their answer. No thinking necessary.
The most flack we get is from Brandon Bevers.
That's the truth.
Hands down, no one else even came close. We get the occasional snide message from the public, and we can always trace them back to Brandon.
It's no secret that Brandon has not been supportive of the True Crime Broads mission. In fact, when speaking to people for this podcast, I heard a story that Brandon had driven up to one of the True Crime Broads events and flipped off the crowd. In a thread about this incident in the Facebook groups, Brandon denies he did this, saying that he, the kids, and the entire family want to remember Missy in a totally different way than some people throw out there. A friend of the family chimed in to say he didn't do it, but, quote, the family is tired of podcasters making money at their loss, adding at the end, don't assume everyone has best interest at heart.
It's really ridiculous. I think if you look at our podcast and anything we've been involved in, I would say we were trying to help. To think that we're trying to work against anything is pretty ridiculous.
Brandon has been through an ordeal most of us will never experience. He lost his wife of many years in the most brutal way you can imagine, and he still doesn't have answers. I totally understand why he apparently wants the sleuths to just go away. But Brandon's comments on social media aren't enough to get Crystal and Renee to stop the True Crime Broads podcast.
Most people are very kind. They'll say, we love your show. If you look at our Apple reviews, the only Apple reviews we have that are nasty are from Brandon and people he's recruited. Most people are saying they love it and they love our dedication to Missy. So just depends on who you ask. Brandon doesn't like it, and I don't know why.
Renee says she and Brandon have gotten into public arguments online.
Me and him actually got into a long discussion on Reddit, and I actually told him, I said, you are more worried about two women in a podcast than you are the person that killed your wife. He, like I always say this every time, but he packed up and went home, basically. I mean, now he's back. He was gone for about a year, but he's back and he's been there all the time. But I mean, he got mad because he knew it was the truth.
Despite the family's wishes, Crystal and Renee feel it's important that someone is loudly demanding answers about Missy, making sure the pressure stays on the police to produce results.
There's usually someone that's out there speaking for that person, hoping for justice, constantly talking to the police department about it and pushing for the case to be solved for their loved one. And I don't mean this as a dig either, but there's not really anybody doing that in Missy's case.
You know how sometimes when there's a murder victim, there'll be 2 or 3 family members that are in the media all the time, and you'll see that. Like Ron Goldman's dad is a really good example of that from the OJ case. There'll just be somebody who's just constantly pushing and pushing for answers and doing interviews and saying, we're going to find who did this. And Missy's family, it's not a knock against her family. It's just that you don't really have that energy going on.
This reminded me of what Brandon's sister Christy said when she spoke to Crystal and Renee on their podcast a few years back. That she felt awful that she didn't have the time to be knocking on the police's door every day, demanding explanations. She had a life, her grief. She just didn't have the capabilities. And I imagine most of the family members of victims don't. Either they don't have the time, the money, or even just the mental capacity to stay put in their tragedy. And again, that shouldn't be expected of them. Maybe that's where the sleuths come in. These people who have the time and the passion to keep cases alive. People far enough removed that they don't have to factor their grief into the situation when spending time thinking about a case or raising awareness about the victim.
It's important that every case have a voice for the deceased person. And some people have that and some people don't. And I just feel like people that do it that aren't family kind of get a bad rap or whatever. But I think it's actually good. And you've seen it do a lot of good in these cases because if there's not anybody speaking on their behalf, somebody has to do it.
And luckily for Missy, this case has struck a chord with so many people. Her memory will never be fully erased in the eyes of the public. There are so many people who will never stop putting pressure on law enforcement, never stop talking about what happened to Missy.
This is your typical murder. This is a very strange theatrical event where the person is on camera for almost half an hour before Missy arrives, and they're wearing a very strange outfit. That's not normal. A tactical cop, those outfits are used when they go out together. You don't see a singular tactical cop. It's just the whole thing is so bizarre. I just really think the public wants closure, and there just hasn't been any.
Brandon has said in interviews that the family is focused on moving on and rebuilding, rather than trying to find the killer. Not that they don't care, but that it wouldn't change their lives. It wouldn't bring Missy back. it wouldn't erase the pain and loss they still battle every single day. But Crystal and Renee think that finding the killer is necessary to get Missy the justice she deserves.
Just seems like justice being served always helps. A vibrant mother was taken away from her children and her friends, and it just doesn't make any sense. I think we all want to make sense of it somehow, at least know what happened, because the people who live in Midlothian, we hear from them all the time, Renee, we always talk about this, is we know people who say that they don't even go take their trash out at night anymore. They wait until the morning.
And having that person behind bars could be what the community needs to feel peace again.
I mean, if you really think about it, as far as the people of Midlothian, Texas are concerned, there is a homicidal maniac on the loose and has been and gotten away with this for so long. I mean, are they going to strike again? Or was it so targeted toward Missy that pretty much everyone's safe? But whatever made that person do that to Missy, well, what if somebody else makes them mad, you know? Could it happen all over again?
But despite the decade of almost no answers, Crystal and Renee have not lost hope. Do you think it'll ever get solved?
I do. Almost weekly, you hear about a new case being solved that's 25 years old or whatever. And so every time you hear that story, I mean, yogurt shop murders, that one has been unsolved for many years. And to hear that it finally got solved and there was another one recently, that gives me hope. So I have to say, yeah.
And Crystal,
I think they know who did it.
if you or anyone you know has any information about Missy's case, please contact Crime Stoppers of Ellis County at 972-937-7297. The Unforgotten is a free-range production. Season 6, Who Killed Missy Bevers, is written and hosted by me, Zoe Culkin. Our executive producer is Wes Ferguson. Audio editing by Aislinn Gaddis. Engineering and sound design by Austin Sisler with Eastside Studios. Get our newsletter at unforgottenpod.com. Thanks for listening.